I would really like to know your thoughts and your viewpoints about how important was the series going into the Commonwealth Games, which is coming right now towards the end of July, and the World Cup that is coming in the next year, that is 2023. So, how important was it to have this series on our side, and how much of an importance will it be to women's cricket, like the Commonwealth Games to women's cricket and Indian cricket in general? So, if we can have Neha talking about it first.
Right. So I'll probably just break the question into two parts. Let's just first focus on how important this series was going into the Commonwealth Games and the World Cup, and then we'll talk about Commonwealth Games and its impact on women's cricket. Obviously, coming into the series, we saw how Sri Lanka had played Pakistan away from home, and they had lost like the T20 and the ODI series 3-0 and 2-1 respectively. And with India coming home, probably they were expecting to, probably cruise through, but obviously India gave a good competition, and, we managed to win the series 2-1 and 3-0 as discussed previously. Now, these wins are crucial for India because we have the ICC Women's Championship that's going on, and each win is like extremely important. Now, India has won matches. This obviously gives them a lot of confidence and momentum. So riding that wave going into the Commonwealth Games is very important. Now, India obviously is going to take a lot of positives from the series, although we felt, the matches did go down to the wire, but there are obviously positives that we can choose to focus on and probably just build on that. Now, also, a lot of you guys also spoke about how Harmanpreet Kaur's captaincy was one of the major takeaways too. Like the transition has been really smooth. And now this has begun on a bright note, right? So this obviously does instill confidence even in the youngsters that we have a skipper, someone who we can rely on. And there's certainly so much to look forward to from the team in the future as well. And now the future, when we talk about Commonwealth Games and the World Cup, is the first thing that comes to the fore, right? So when we talk about the good that Commonwealth Games is going through to women's cricket, exposure. Now, Commonwealth Games is obviously something that's watched all over the world. So this is, including cricket, is definitely going to improve the global game as well. Now you're going to see how a lot of the teams have to be right at the top of the game to present their best versions to, compete with sides who are actually of very good caliber. So globally, it's going to be massive for the game. And I think it's going to inspire a lot of girls to actually, get playing cricket as well. And another angle I'd like to look at is how it's going to help build revenue and make women's cricket a financially viable option as well, because many people feel it's not commercially viable, but this is definitely going to help that way. Now, we saw how the recently concluded ODI World Cup 2 did manage to throw up some very interesting statistics, right? Now, in India alone, we had a good 150 million people tuning in to watch the tournament. This is on your cable TV, OTT, basically wherever they got exposure to, they just consume the World Cup in such a good manner, which is good signs for women's cricket, right? And the fact that cricket has been included in Commonwealth Games obviously builds a base of new fans, which is so important. And because women's cricket, we sometimes see the series are not that many, this is going to add another tournament to the calendar, which is so important, right? Because this tournament is going to be publicized. People are going to promote, people are going to watch it, engage with it, and people will know our players even better. So not just from an Indian perspective, like globally too, right? Cricket claims to be a global game. So this is obviously a step in the right direction. And I think I remember reading somewhere that the Commonwealth Games Federation has like 3 values, like there's equality, I think humanity and destiny. So the move to include women's sports, right? Now, even if it means including cricket, is obviously a testament of things that's kind of indicates that it is moving in the right direction. You're trying to make it an inclusive space. So I strongly believe that this is a welcome sign and that Commonwealth Games is going to be super exciting.
Amazing. And we move on to Poulami, like your thoughts about how important was the series and how important is presence of cricket in Commonwealth Games for women's cricket.
Yeah, I think this was a really important series going into the Commonwealth Games, because we just came after the ODI World Cup and we didn't had much T20s to play in the last 6 months. But then this series was needed because we are directly going into Commonwealth Games, which will be in T20 format. So I think Neha has pretty much covered the positives that we are going to have in the Commonwealth Games because of this series. I would like to highlight a few points that is a bit concern for me from the series. That will be See, the thing is, Sri Lanka is playing a bilateral series after 3 years. They had last played it in 2019, and then directly they are playing in 2022. Just after, I mean, they played that World Cup in 2020, Feb March, and after that they haven't played any series. And then they just played Pakistan, and then they're playing us. So it's obviously that they won't be in a good form. The players are coming after a long time. They won't have the combination set. But India has played a lot of cricket compared to them in the last 1 year. So, and it's not that the Sri Lankan conditions are hugely different from India. So what we expected was a little more dominant win from the Indian side, which wasn't the case in the T20s. We actually lost one match to Sri Lanka, and also I did not feel like we figured out the combinations yet. So going into the Commonwealth Games, I'm not sure what will be the playing 11 in the first match. We are not yet sure. So that is something we should have, should have figured out in this series, which we could not. But anyway, let's hope for the best. As Neha said, that we at least got a momentum, and all the match practice is always good before going into a big tournament. So we have the confidence of winning it in 2-1. So sometimes when you have the confidence and momentum, other things fall into place. So yeah, we will be hoping for the best. So let's see. Yeah, and to answer how important women's cricket will be in the Commonwealth Games, I think that is also very much covered by Neha. Like, she has summarized it really well. I would just like to add on the same points that because Commonwealth Games, Olympics, this actually reaches a larger audience, and we all know that in cricket is a hugely popular sport in India, but it is mostly the men's cricket that is more popular in India. So there is still a lot of audience who hasn't, watched any women's cricket matches, or they don't know about the women cricketers. There are still uh, a large section of audience, and maybe if maybe a lot of those people actually watches Commonwealth Games and Olympics. So obviously we are getting some new eyes, and you never know, after watching them for 2-3 games, maybe they will also become a fan and they will start following. That is how we get attached to a sport, right? We just watch it sometimes, and then we like some player, or we like a team, and then we start watching that sport. So I'm hoping for the best, actually, that we will get a lot of new followers of women's cricket, and really hoping that all the teams perform well. It's not just India. Like, we had this last ODI World Cup. It was a super World Cup. I mean, every team performed really well. We had a lot of close matches. We had a very, close finishes, and those kind of games I would also expect from Commonwealth Games. All the top teams are playing, and hopefully it's a very good tournament. And as an Indian, obviously would like to see India winnings, because that will create a huge impact back home, and will surely get a lot of new audience if that happens. So let's see.
In there, and I'll just like to add something to what you mentioned about having new eyes follow the game. If you go back to the 100 that was played, where few of our Indian batters and the bowlers were there in the squad, we could see that people from across the world, even the ones who were not actually following cricket, because it was a new format that they were introducing to the world of cricket and to the world of sports in general, of playing just 100 balls with different rule sets, boundary sites, and everything, we actually saw a lot of foreign audience starting to follow Indian cricket, starting to notice the Indian cricketers, especially the female cricketers, and how they have been doing in the particular series, as well as how they are doing afterwards in other bilateral series that they play and everything. So I just hope that how Poulami mentioned, that this too brings out some new pair of eyes following the game and getting more attraction to the women's cricket team in India. And let's move on to Sakshi and hear her thoughts about how the series were important moving into Commonwealth and how Commonwealth is important for women's cricket.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that for India it was a very important series because you get that game time before the a huge tournament. So it was definitely an important series for India. But yeah, I mean, like even I would like to some add some points to it because I feel that India did really well. Like winning a series 2-1 is fine, but the way we won it, we should have won it like more. We should have been like more dominant, and that's what I feel. And I also believe that I mean like when it comes to T20, I feel that we are not that settled team right now going into the Commonwealth Games because like even in World Cup we saw like there were a lot of chopping and cuttings going on. Like there were a lot of changes made, and even now like there are a lot of changes. You know, you see Richa Ghosh in the first match as a wicket keeper, and then you see Astika Bhatia. So I mean like for me, I would say that a player of Richa's caliber has to be in playing 11 of T20 is what I feel personally. And yeah, I mean we are not that like it is okay in front of when we are facing Sri Lanka, but when it comes to teams like Australia and England, we are not that good bowling. The bowling department is not that good. We get hammered if we go with this bowling department in Australia against Australia and England. So yeah, definitely there are a lot of things to work on before going into Commonwealth Games for India. And I also believe that inclusion of Shikha Pandey in Commonwealth Games is like very important. So fingers crossed the selectors get her in this time. And yeah, I mean having cricket, women's cricket in Commonwealth Games, it's going to be a huge thing for me because it's of course it's going to increase a lot of audience. Like we saw with women's hockey, they performed really well in Olympics, and now people follow hockey a lot, especially in India. It's followed like the followers have definitely increased. So it is going to be a huge thing for women's cricket also, and it's I think the right time that we increase our audiences because we have seen the World Cup, we have seen a lot of audience watching it. Especially, it wasn't even a right time for the Indians to watch it. It was the matches were in the morning. So definitely, yeah, it's going to be a huge thing to get women's cricket in Commonwealth Games.
Indeed. And if I can add a few more points to what everyone has said, is that it is going to be a very different environment for them to play in, right? And if we have to get everything right, we have to get it right from the basics. That is your preparation, your confidence, your team selection, and the group dynamic that you said. Like if you see someone like Australia, even they have been doing chops and changes in their squad. It's not that they haven't been doing it, but they have been doing that in the bilateral series. They would do it in their within group games, but they would not really do it in a World Cup game. We did not see them do that. They were, if it's not a force to change, they would not change the player. They would still give them chances, even if they are having a bad day in one match. They know that they'll do well in the other. So that amount of trust that they have, that needs to be there in all the teams. I'm not just speaking about India. When it comes to um, playing at a level where it is like uh, Olympics or Commonwealth, it is going to be a very highly competitive environment. It is going to add to a lot of pressure mentally, because this is the first time that all the teams would be playing in this environment. It is not a World Cup where some teams do have more experience than the others, or some teams have players who have more experience than the others. This is a new environment both for the debutants as well as the experienced players. It is going to be very different because whoever wins is going to create an history, and everyone would want to create that history. So I would just say that if you really want to understand more about women's cricket, especially, do watch the Commonwealth Games, because it won't just give you a perspective about what women's cricket is about, but it will give you a perspective about how, even if the format is the same, the team dynamic would be the same, the opponent would be the same, you would have played that player early on in your career, but still, how much of an impact the environment, the external factor of that you have a chance of making history, the thing that you are going to play uh, in a very tight knitted environment. And when I say tight knitted environment, I'll just take you back to Olympics for a few minutes, because I really want audience listening to this one to understand why we are emphasizing more on presence of women's cricket in Commonwealth Games. Is uh, in no way do we mean that we don't want the men's cricket to be there, but to see a women's cricket team, we will have so many young girls actually wanting to reach to that level. And if any of the women cricket team wins, even if it's not India, even if it's England or New Zealand, Australia, anyone, they are going to open doors to a lot of opportunity for young girls across the world. There will be dreams that would be dreamt of, there will be opportunities created for them. And if you see, you will be very happy to notice that despite the odds, and if you see journey of each and every player of all the teams, you will find one common ground for all of them, that they were not really allowed to pursue their dream or play in an environment where they see someone like them playing. And to actually have the young girls given that opportunity globally, like all three of them mentioned, that global representation of this game will actually bring not just the older audience to a new format, but it will also bring new audience to an older format. And to actually have that happen, it is going to be very, very historic. And if you really, really want to follow Commonwealth Games, just don't follow it for a little time. Just give yourself and the team some time to give you something back from the game. And it won't just be the technicalities, it won't just be the dreams, it will be a lot of lessons that they will give you, because it is going to be super fast paced. It is not going to be like, oh, you get 2 days break, you get 3 days break, and a week break or anything. It is going to be one after the other. It is going to be very challenging, and we look forward to seeing what lessons we can learn from the entire league, the mini league that they are going to play. So do not forget to tune in.